What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday, July 8th. DK Show's back on the air on your radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online at sportstalk1051.com. You got your, you got your smart devices, smart speakers. Download the Sports Talk app. Take us on the go. Stream it up at sportstalk1051.com. Video streams also up and rolling. You know the usual places: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram here shortly. But hopefully you had a good holiday weekend and you're ready to hit up a brand new work week here. Let's see if we remember how to do this whole thing. What do we got on a game plan for us to begin this week, this Monday morning? Brew Crew avoiding being swept by the Dodgers with a 9-2 victory yesterday. Christian Yelich, dude likes to play in his home state of California over there, but Christian Yelich with a couple of home runs in this series. Brewers picking up that 9-2 victory. Dallas Keuchel getting the start. Doesn't get credited with the win. But nonetheless, Dallas Keuchel going 4 1/3, just giving up 3 hits. Got himself into some tough situations over there, but able to get through them. Didn't allow an earned run. Did issue 5 walks, though, too. But Jacob Junis coming in relief, pitching 2 2/3. He gets credited with the win. So it was a series that you go back to Saturday's game. Brewers tied it up there with a Yelly home run, but just not able to close it down. Hudson, who has been fantastic throughout this season, giving up some home runs there, and I know the Yelich one there kind of misjudged it in the outfield, and maybe he could have had it if he would have jumped up and maybe didn't get his glove caught underneath there. But it's a series that the Brewers, kind of battling. I think, that they had to get that win yesterday. Otherwise, I think a lot of us would be wondering, okay, going back to that Philly series in early June, so about a month ago, what were we talking about after that? Can they beat the best teams? It goes back to that Yelich quote after that Philly series. We can hang with them, but can we beat with them? We can play with them, but can we beat them? And if the Dodgers came away sweeping this series, we're probably asking that same question. Now, not to say that, winning just one game, nullifies that or we can ignore that, but definitely needed to at least win one on the road against the Dodgers, and Brewers able to get that yesterday. Off day today for the Crew before returning home for 2 more series before the All-Star break next week. So Brewers will begin that first series against Pittsburgh starting tomorrow. Then they finish up against Washington. Brewers still remaining 5 games ahead of the St. Louis Cardinals for first place in the NL Central. So the Cardinals still hanging around there. They're still hanging around right now. Cubs dead last, 11 games back, but the Pittsburgh Pirates are in third right now. They're 10 games back. So we got a lot to catch up on since we last chatted here. When it comes to the Brewers, adding some more pitching help. We'll talk about that. Is it now when you look at it, when you look at this team? Do you think is the biggest need still another starter? Do you think it's bullpen help? Where do you think, with the trade deadline coming up at the end of the month here, and the Brewers adding a couple of starters now, do you think they still need to add one more starter? I know it's probably not a bunch of moves that have just completely blown you out of the water, right? I mean, it's Aaron Savale, it's Dallas Keuchel. They're probably not going to go out there and get one of the top starters. Maybe they could. I guess never say never. But given that they've added a couple of starters to the rotation now, do you think the biggest need for this team is now bullpen? Solidifying that bullpen? Sounds like Devin Williams is getting closer to returning here. Got another bullpen session coming up here. He said yesterday, kind of feels like where he's supposed to be at normally. So good sign there. They're going to get him back at the end of the month. So you got your closer, back end guy, pushes everybody back a little bit in the bullpen there. Maybe McGill kind of, transitions to that setup role. But do you think now, is it still starter? Would you like to see maybe a little bit more into the bullpen? So what do you think? We'll hit that up and talk a little bit about that. I want to talk little bit about Christian Yelich here too. No other Brewers players in the All-Star game besides Christian Yelich and William Contreras, who are starters in this game, but rest of the teams were announced. The reserves were announced yesterday and such, but no other Brewers, no Bryce Terang or Hudson or Ortiz or anybody like that. So we're also going to catch up a little bit on some Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks adding a couple of free agents as free agency is fully underway here. And again, we know the Bucks not able to do a whole lot in terms of signing some free agents, but they did add a couple of players. They signed Taurean Prince from the Los Angeles Lakers. That was a while ago there, but what, a couple weeks now or such. But Bucks looking to shore up their front court and some wings a little bit over there. Again, they're not going to be spending a whole lot of money, right? We know they're not going to be spending a ton of money over there, but so they picked him up. I know there's still some rumors too about Brook Lopez and whether the Bucks are going to be able to move him and such, but also Delon Wright is signing with the Bucks. He's coming over from the Miami Heat, so Bucks doing a little bit more in terms of adding to their bench, adding to trying to solidify that rotation, maybe some depth on the bench there. So did see some rumors about Bucks potentially interested in Gary Trent Jr. I think he was the guy I kind of was looking at last year as a possible player, but Lakers are also apparently rumored to be watching him. So Bucks would have to compete with that one over there. So, but there's other rumors out there and such. So we'll kind of recap and look ahead or look at what's going on in the hoops world when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks. So, what else do we got on here? Hey, 2 weeks from today, believe it or not, Packers training camp opens up. Can you believe that? We're going to be talking about guys football. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe here that we're going to be getting into football season and preseason. I mean, high school practices are going to be coming up here too. So, but yeah, the training camp kicks off Monday, July 22nd, 2 weeks from today. Got the shareholders meeting that day too. So maybe some of you are going to be heading over there. I know a lot of you go to camp and such. So with Packers training camp opening up 2 weeks from today, 14 days, we've got, or at least I should say, I've got my top 14. Okay. Top 14 storylines, talking points, whatever we want to call it, leading up to training camp and going into training camp. Top 14. So we're going to do at least a couple here today because we're only on 10 of the 14 days. So we'll do a couple of maybe storylines today. All right. But the top 14, in my opinion, and I know we may not all agree on some of them, but the top 14 storylines leading into training camp for the Packers in honor of camp kicking off 2 weeks from today. I can't a little bit earlier this year, kind of kicking off with camp. Yeah, because usually it's around I think that last week of July, but yeah, there we go. Then you got family nights. I mean, okay, we got camp at the 22nd. Then holy moly, Casper Classics coming up on August 2nd over there too. So, man, it's coming up quick here. Where is summer going? So, But we're going to hit that up coming up a little bit later on. Also, we got the weekend hangover. So, what are your highs? What are your lows from the weekend? A little bit of an extended weekend. So, hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. All right, 715-830-1912. Also, we'll do a little weekend warrior coming up a little bit later on here too. So, let's get things rolling here this morning. Okay. Oh, also, we're going to continue our bracket challenge for the most underrated Wisconsin sports athlete of all time. I think we're going to go to the Brewers and the Packers region. We're going to kick it off, I think, with a Packers one, just to get everybody. I want everybody to get going on a high note and get their brain juices flowing here this morning. So I'll put it up on Facebook on my Facebook page, facebook.com/. Kasper Sports, Kasper Sports, and on Twitter at DANKASPER. So put that up coming up during the break here. But let's get through this so we can get to some really tough match. Although if you're a Packers fan from the early 2000s and mid 2000s, I'm kind of curious to see where this one maybe goes. So, but all right, let's get things rolling here this morning. We got lots to catch up on from the last few days here. Let's lead it off talking a little Brewers. So Brewers avoiding the sweep. What did this series against the Dodgers tell you, if anything? They only won one game. It was yesterday. Fought back in Saturday's game, but then lost it late. Anything tell you about anything from this series? Tell you anything about this Brewers team? Brewers have made a couple of moves, adding a couple of pitchers here. Do you think now their biggest need is adding more talent to the bullpen, or is it another starter, or maybe moving some of those guys in that starting rotation to a bullpen? I mean, Freddie, Colin Ray, I'm assuming Keuchel's still going to be a starter. Aaron's going to be in there. So, yeah, where do you think the biggest need is now heading into the trade deadline that's coming up at the end of the month here, and the All-Star break coming up next week? So, let's talk some Brewers, and I want to talk a little Christian Yelich in the season he's been having so far. So, all right, join me this morning with the texting line. Hit me up with some texts at 715-830-1912. You can comment on the video stream over there too if you'd rather do that. So let's get it rolling here this morning. First break coming up. Let's talk some Brewers. Coming up after these few words. Need an oil change, or maybe you need some new tires on that vehicle of yours? Look no further than our good friends from ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire. Or maybe you're working on a vehicle and you want to save some money on some high quality used auto parts. ASAP Used Auto Parts can help you out over there. So make your appointment now for your oil change, or maybe to get some new tires. Maybe you need both. Hit up ASAP Used Auto Parts. And also, too, they've got their annual car show coming up next Wednesday. Hey, that's my birthday. Next Wednesday, July 17th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Big Stack Meats is going to be there with their food truck. And plus, if you enter a car, you get a free meal ticket with your car entry over there, too. So, but 5 p to 8 p next Wednesday, July 17th. The annual car show at ASAP Used Auto Parts, located at 1330 Menominee Street in Eau Claire, just across street from the Dodge. So, all right, let's get things rolling here this morning, shall we? Let's talk a little Brewers, because we've got some things to catch up on when it comes to the Milwaukee Brewers. So, first up, Brew Crew dropping a series against the Dodgers. They did pick up the win yesterday, 9-2 victory for the Crew. If we go back here for this weekend series, Brewers falling Friday in their opener, 8-5. Peguero getting charged with the loss in that game, but Brewers they shouldn't say jumped out too late, because the Dodgers put up one in the bottom of the first there. But the Brewers at one point had a 5-2 lead heading into the bottom of the fourth, and the Dodgers put up two. Brewers still holding on 5-4, but not able to close it out. Dodgers able to tie it up in the seventh and then put up three in the eighth inning to have the come from behind victory over the Brewers. And then Saturday, Brewers tied it up at three apiece, thanks to a Christian Yelich home run late in the game. But Hudson, who has been fantastic throughout this entire season, struggled a little bit in this series. He gets charged with the loss. He gave up a couple of dingers in that game after Christian Yelich put up that home run in the top of the eighth to tie it up, giving up two home runs in the bottom of the eighth there, in the Brewers not able to make another come from behind run there in the ninth inning. So Brewers falling 5-3 on Saturday. And then yesterday, they were able to finally get that victory over the Dodgers, 9-2. Not a bad day for Mr. Blake Perkins yesterday, too. So Blake Perkins making the most of his opportunity. I know maybe some of his playing time kind of now cut with Garrett Mitchell back with the team and getting some playing time over there too. But Blake Perkins making the most of his opportunity yesterday. Jacob Junis picking up the win, even though Dallas Keuchel started the game. Keuchel 4 1/3 for him. But Yelich, you want to talk about? Well, first of all, before we get to Yelich here, finish up with Blake Perkins yesterday. The guy, 3 hits, 3 RBIs, including a home run from him too. So not a bad day at the office. And then Haas, I mean, he couple of hits, including a home run. We got to really know him in spring training and kind of wondered, is he going to play his way on the team? And luckily he was able to stick around, and Brewers were able to kind of stash him on the minor league team, AAA there. And well, he had himself a nice day yesterday too. So, but back to Yelich here. Couple more hits from him, 3 hits yesterday, going up against the Dodgers, including another home run. He had 2 home runs in this series. But Christian Yelich, the season he is having so far this year, I mean, is it too early to say right now he's the MVP? I mean, I would say first part of the season, maybe the first couple months, first 3 months, you could say it was Contreras. And if you still want to say it's Contreras, I'm not arguing with you one bit. I love Contreras, and I think he deserves even a little bit more credit than potentially what he's getting. But look at what Yelich has been doing here as of late. All right. Last 28 at bats, 393 batting average, slugging 893, on base percentage of a 469. You want to expand it out to his last 30 games, 114 ABs. Christian Yelich is hitting 342 with a 415 on base and a 535 slugging percentage. Overall this year, Christian Yelich, 11 home runs, 41 RBIs, 19 stolen bases, 329 average, 407 on base, and a 940 OPS. Those are the numbers that I think a lot of us have been waiting to see from Christian Yelich the last few years. Last year was like, oh, okay, starting to, bounce back year, solid year. But now Christian Yelich is setting the bar pretty darn high again. Pretty darn high again. When you look at batting average overall here, you're looking at, and if you qualify too, because, I know a certain amount of games and that sort of stuff, Christian Yelich would be number one in the National League. Quan right now from Cleveland is just on fire with 62 games in. He's hitting 364. Bobby Witt Jr., 92 games in the American League, 324. Profar San Diego, 315. Ohtani, 314. But Christian Yelich right now, 329. 329. In how many games has he played right now? He's gotten 47 here in just left field, but he's had some games at the DH level here. But what a fantastic start to the season! What a fantastic! I shouldn't say we can't even say start to the season. What a fantastic season so far for Christian Yelich. I mean, these are these are blowing my expectations from what I had for Christian Yelich heading into this year. Last year we talked about, okay, a nice bounce back year from him, 278. He finished the season 278. He had 19 home runs, 76 RBIs, stolen bases last year. He had 28. All right, 28. So on base, 370, slugging, 447, OPS, 817. Like, all right, that's a majority thought, okay, that's a typical year for Christian Yelich. That's kind of what we were hoping. 2018, 2019 might have been a little bit of an anomaly there. But outside of the home run numbers, Christian Yelich is putting up similar numbers to that 2018, 2019 run. 2018, he finished 326, 402. That's on base percentage, and slugging 598. That was his 2018 season. Right now, so far this year, 329, 407, 533. OPS in 2018, an even 1.000, and right now, 0.940. So outside of, and remember, it was that 2018 season two with his home runs, he ended up with 36, but it was kind of like that. It wasn't that insane second half run there. Still mind-boggling to see 2019, the man had 44 home runs. 44 home runs. So, whoo. Yelich 65 games so far this year too, by the way, played. So, but he's putting up similar numbers to those 2018, 2019 seasons. I mean, it's pretty darn impressive. He's not getting the home run ball and probably not getting a lot more attention than what he probably should, because, okay, he's not, in the 20s, close to 30, home run. I know Aaron Judge is just kind of lighting it up, and Ohtani, with his home run balls and such, but he's getting on base. He's a threat right now. And that's where it makes a little bit more important for a guy like Willy Adames. He's got to provide that protection. If they're going to stick with Willy Adames, batting in that cleanup spot. He's going through a little bit of a funk right now. think that's fair to say he's going through a little bit of a funk right now. On a season, he's hitting 234. But last 15 games, 172, 234 on base, and slugging just 190. Now, he's picked it up in his last, few games here. He got a hit in each of these games against the Dodgers. Collected a couple of RBIs in this series. But especially that series, the Colorado one, where he was really struggling. That, getting thrown out, you could tell in that game against Colorado when he got called for a strikeout, said something to the ump, got thrown out. You could just tell the frustration was there. Just the frustration from Willie Adames and his play, especially from the plate. Bounced back nicely in this Dodgers series, collecting a hit in each game there, but probably need a little bit more from him in terms of a consistency level to be able to provide that protection to Christian Yelich. Because, if Christian Yelich is going to continue to be, hitting 330, 340, 315, whatever the case may be, and, Willie Adames is hitting around 200, you might see some teams pitching around Yelich to get to a Willie Adames, especially in close. We've seen it a couple times so far this year already. So with this series against the Dodgers, did it tell you anything? Going back to a month ago, after that Phillies series when the Phillies swept the Brewers, you had this like, okay, Brewers can hang with them, but can they beat them? They can hang with the good teams. They can play with the good teams, but can they, consistently beat those good teams? And this was probably their next big test since that Phillies series, going up against one of the best in the National League against the Dodgers. So Brewers had a lead in their first game, lost it. Came back, tied it up late Saturday's game, lost it, and picked up the 9-2 victory yesterday. I think if anything, what this series showed me is the Brewers can play with these teams. They can play against the Dodgers and Phillies. I mean, they're up there, but the Brewers are also a team that cannot afford to make mistakes. And I know you can say that for almost every single team out there, but the Brewers, I mean, the line of margin, that margin of error for a team like the Brewers, going up against teams like the Dodgers or the Phillies or whatever, that margin of error is so small. Like they this series against the Dodgers showed that, where little mistakes come back to bite them. You have a little bit of mistake, a team like the Dodgers or the Phillies can really expose that. So that margin of error, in my opinion, for the Brewers going up against teams like the Dodgers and the Phillies is so small. They can hang with them. They can play with them. And they can beat them, but that margin of error is really thin. Really thin. And that could be the difference when it comes to postseason time. Who are the teams that are going to play near perfect baseball? Who are going to be the teams that capitalize on the other team's mistakes? Not giving up late home runs in the 8th inning, 9th inning. Holding on to a lead. You're up 5-2, 5-3, whatever it is. Holding on to that lead. It'll help when Devin Williams comes back and you solidify the back end of that bullpen and you got an all-star closer coming back. That'll naturally help. But that margin of error for a team like the Brewers is all really thin compared to maybe the Dodgers and the Phillies. A team, a lineup that, okay, they had a little bit of a hiccup. They can overcome that. They can. You're probably like, oh, okay. They got an error there. They screw up there. Yeah, they're still a threat. They're still pretty good. They'll get it back. Can we say that about the Brewers right now? maybe that's the one biggest issue so far, going up against some of the other premier teams in Major League Baseball. Looking at the rest of this schedule here, you got Atlanta coming up at the end of July. That's at home. And that's the other part here, too, is the Brewers have played the Phillies and the Dodgers all on the road. And the Brewers are, when you look at it, much better team in the friendly confines of AmFam Field or Am Slam Field. I think some people are trying to get it to be called right now with the amount of grand slams this team is hitting right now. But the Brewers, 27-13 at home. 27-13 at home. Compared to 26-25 on the road. Could these results be a little bit different if they were at home? Possibly. Well, we'll find that out in the middle of August when the Brewers take on the Dodgers for 4 games in Milwaukee. Find out against a team like Atlanta at the end of July. Atlanta again shortly after that on the road here too. But not to get too far ahead. And then plus you got Philadelphia coming up in September here for 3 games. That's going to be in Milwaukee too. But you look at that stretch, like I'm looking at the schedule, August 12th through the 18th. Whew. You've got home games against the Dodgers and Cleveland. 7 games in that series. In fact, I think one of those series against Cleveland, if you're part of the Kasper Classic, you could win 4 tickets to one of those games. Can't remember which one is it, the Friday or the Sunday one, I believe, against Cleveland. So, I mean, that's a heck of a matchup right there. But what I think also really sets up well for this Brewers team post All-Star break. So, I mean, after the All-Star break, they go to Minnesota for a couple games. We got a few tickets available for that yet if you want to sign up. You got Cubs at Wrigley, but then you're at home. And they're going to be at home more times in this post All-Star break than what they were pre. For a team that plays really well at home, that's a chance for them to really kind of get into a groove and ride that momentum into the postseason. In fact, in September, in that final month, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just 10 games on the road. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 at home, if my math is correct. In that final month. So 16 at home, 10 on the road. They're going to be playing at AmFam Field a lot more in the second half now. This quote-unquote second half, post-All-Star break. That's great news for this Brewers team who has shown to play a lot better there and get some momentum, ride it, and hopefully use it getting into the postseason. But with some of the moves now that the Brewers made, we know Dallas Keuchel, last week, Aaron Savale coming over. We saw him make one start already. Couple starters added to this starting rotation here. With Aaron, I think they're really hoping to maybe get him back to what he was post, or I should say pre Tampa Bay Rays version. When he was with Cleveland and such. Trying to get him back to that. I mean, that 20 was it his let me bring up some of his, was it 2022 that season? Let me see if I can get some of the numbers here. Yeah. Well, 2023 for Cleveland, I mean, he was 5-2 with a 2.34 ERA, and that's what Tampa Bay makes that move to acquire him. And ever since that move, he was 2-3 with a 5.36 ERA with Tampa Bay last year. And so far this year with Tampa Bay, he was just 2-6 with a 5.07 ERA. So, Brewers trying to tap into, that early 2023 version of him. Do you think the biggest weakness that they have to address, that the Brewers have to address before the All-Star break is still starting pitching, even though they've acquired a couple of guys. Even though they've acquired a couple of those guys, do you think it still is starting pitching? Or do you think now it's bullpen? That they've got to figure out maybe some more depth in the bullpen. Or maybe you're like, hey, once Devin Williams comes back, you add him to the back end. He's probably going to get some work in, maybe he's elsewhere to get that confidence up a little bit, get some game modes in there. But eventually we'll be that closer. So maybe you're thinking, okay, Devin's back. That'll push everybody back, improves your depth that way. What do you think after these couple moves with Keuchel and Aaron coming over? Do you think is still the biggest need for this Brewers team with the trade deadline coming up at the end of the month? Hit me up with a text 715 830 1912. We're going to take a quick break and we'll finish up the first hour. By the way, we've got the first poll up. So head over to Facebook and Twitter. First poll up for this morning for our bracket challenge here. Aaron Campman, Nick Collins. We're back in the Packers region there. So a couple of 2000s, early 2000s, 2000 teens Packers players over there. Aaron Campman or Nick Collins? Who do you think is the most underrated Packer player between those two? The winner of this matchup will go on to face Ahman Green. So you can go vote right now, Facebook and Twitter. We'll take a quick break. Maybe. The buttons don't want to work. Holy moly. Come on now. Apparently not. Let's try this one over here. Gonna work? There we go. Looks like computers were on a vacation here too. All right. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. We got some teas that we're going to be giving away whenever we hop into the Mobile Man Cave and we do some stops, some shows, some podcasts, tailgate parties, whatever the case may be. Big thanks to our friends at Resonance Branding Company. We've got some teas printed off. If you follow along on Facebook, or Twitter, you probably saw the photos. Instagram up there too. So you probably saw the photos up there. If you like your baby blues, there's some sweet ones over there. So big thanks again to Resonance Branding Company. You need some teas printed off or whatever the case may be, hook them up. All right, look up Resonance Branding. Matt, Ben, Eric, the entire staff over there, awesome. Quinn is awesome to work with over there too. So look them up. Also, they are title belt sponsors for the 4th annual Kasper Classic, which is coming up next month, August 2nd. We're under a month away here. Title belts are sitting in my office. We've got a couple more prizes. We've got a Jordan Love jersey, a Giannis jersey that we're going to be giving away. We've got some other cool stuff coming down the wire here too. But big thanks to all of our sponsors. Champions Meal sponsor Hy-Vee. We've got the Green Jacket sponsor Muldoon's Menswear, Putting Green sponsor Gemco Surfaces, beverage sponsor Park Ridge Distributing, whole sponsors Carpet City Flooring Center, AJM Automotive Service, The Elbow Room, Doododge Inn, Edward Jones, financial advisor, Kelsey Nikolai, Hannah Sellner, Agency American Family Insurance, Shepke Chiropractic, Shoe Doctor, Service Master of Chippewa, or Service Master Chippewa Valley. So big thanks to all of our partners and sponsors over there. And a big thanks to all of you who have already signed up for your teams. We're almost sold out. Almost sold out right now. 10 a.m. is sold out. We got a couple more open at 1:30, but we had a influx. I mean, a boatload of signups last week. So we only got a couple open up there at 1:30. A few more left for that 7:30. So if you want to be on the course with Surveyor Sam or Philly Fan Dave, who are going to be out there at 7:30, you can sign up for that location there too. All details, sportstalk1051.com or 715store.com. G-Man, Shaman, and DK Brewers need to add another starter. This will really help out the crew, and the Brewers will win the series against the Pirates. C-Bomb says both starting in bullpen. Can't have Aaron and Keuchel and hope they can revert to what they were. And you guys that are doing it now, can't waste this offensive production. Brewers have a legitimate opportunity to make a deep run and possibly a World Series. Tired of the Brewers being miscongeniality. Go be the prom queen. So a couple more texts here. Ben also saying if I had to pick between starter and a bullpen, I would probably still pick a starter. Maybe one of those guys can still go to the bullpen, maybe like a Keuchel. Another texture here, no name, can't give you any credit, but they are saying with a bullpen, a little bit more of a long relief option. All right, keep those coming. All right, hit me up with a text, 715-830-1912. We'll get back to some Brewers chat coming up a little bit later on. Who do you think is, let me throw this question out there too, by the way. Who do you think is maybe the biggest snub, all-star snub from the Brewers? We know Yelich is a starter. We know Contreras is a starter. And that's it. That's what we got here for the Brewers. Nobody else. So who do you think is perhaps the biggest snub from this for the Brewers to not make the All-Star? Is it Terang? Do you think it should still be Hudson? One of their pitchers, Trevor McGill? Or maybe you don't think there's a snub. So think about that. If you want to hit me up with your pick, you can do that. All right. Coming up next hour, we're going to do, a couple things here. First off, we'll catch up on some of the latest in terms of the Milwaukee Bucks and their free agency, signing a couple guys, more of a role player situation here. But we'll get to the latest rumors and rumblings surrounding the Bucks. Giannis leading his Greek team to the Olympics for the first time. They qualified for the first time since 2008. Giannis, a big reason for that. So that was a big one over there yesterday. But we'll catch up on the latest free agent rumblings surrounding this Bucks team. But also 2 weeks from today, Packers training camp opens up. So that's 14 days. I've got my top 14 storylines, top 14 things regarding the Packers, top things, whatever we want to call it, heading into training camp. We'll go through a couple of them today, but we're going to try to do one per day. And I know we're on the air 10 days, the 14, so a couple days we'll have to do two over there. We might do. I think we'll kick it off with two today. All right, so these are my picks. You can make your picks if you want. If you think if you want to contribute, perfect, awesome, do that. What do you think are some of the top storylines, things to watch? That's that sort of stuff heading into training camp here. Can you believe it? 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from today, they're going to be opening up training camp. So I've got my 14 here. There's probably a good chance that we're all going to have a lot of the same ones there, but maybe we got a couple different ones. Be like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that one. Kind of forgot about that dude, or kind of forgot about that one, or that thing. So we'll hit that up coming up in the next hour over here too. So Nick Collins is just dominating, by the way, in our latest matchup for the best, or excuse me, the most underrated Wisconsin sports athlete of all time. Collins is dominating in the vote right now, both Facebook and Twitter. A lot of times, for whatever reason, Facebook and Twitter votes kind of go the opposite way at the beginning of everything, but this one is kind of on the same path here. So Nick Collins is the easy front runner. We may have to call this one already. Nick Collins over Aaron Campman. So if you want to make your case, maybe if you're listening right now and you want to make your case for Aaron Campman, say, hey, hold up, peeps. Aaron Campman deserves a little bit more love. Let me know. All right, hit me up with the text over there. Otherwise, we may have to call this one early. I think because we only got a couple more, then we're done with the first round here, and then things are going to get really interesting here. But yeah, we might throw another one out there. Well, we are going to throw another one out there, but I think we'll do a Brewer one since Brewers are going on here right now too. So maybe we'll start that one next hour just to kind of get that one in the flow here. So. All right. Also, don't forget it is the weekend hangover. So what? Got a little bit of an extended weekend, maybe for some of you, with the holidays, 4th of July and such. But what are the highs? What are the lows? What was the best? What was the worst from the last few days, from this past weekend? All right. Make your picks. Again, it could be something maybe on a more personal level, or maybe it was just from the sports world in general. But what were your highs and what were your lows, or what was the best and what was the worst? Make your selections. Let me know. Hit us up on the video stream or on the Shoe Doctors texting line. Okay, so think about that and get those on over. We'll get to our weekend hangovers coming up a little bit later on. Also, Weekend Warrior. Don't forget, you can submit your picks for Weekend Warrior. Maybe it was your softball team. Maybe it was your club championship or anything like that. All right, we want to highlight you, Weekend Warriors. Maybe you bike 10 miles. I can't even do probably 2. So if you did that, hey, we want to give you a shout out. All right, it's our Weekend Warrior shout out. We're going to get to that coming up just past 7, but hit up our website for details on how to submit or nominate you, somebody, something. Okay, 1 hour in, we got 2 more to go here. Stick around. We'll be back after these news updates. Talk a little hoops and then talk a little green and gold. Second hour kicking off on this Monday morning of July 8th. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. If it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM online, sportstalk1051.com. You got the video streams also up and rolling. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Got the app, download it, take it on the go. Smart speakers over there too, all over the place, all over the place. So our good friend Tom from across the pond, our resident Lions fan over there, chiming in on the video stream, guessing one of those 14 is how do we close the gap on defending the NFC North champions, the Lions? We're going to be with training camp opening up 2 weeks from today. Going to kick off our series of top 14 for every day. I'm going to do a couple on some days, though, just to even it out. So, but top storylines, in my opinion, heading into training camp for the Pack. So, if you want to make your picks, you can absolutely go ahead and do so. Just hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912, or also chime in on the video stream, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Weekend Warrior. All right, they don't even know I'm doing this, but I saw it on Facebook, so I'm like, this is a perfect Weekend Warrior over there. We got to give a shout out to our good friend Paul Henricks. You may know him also too. Basketball coach at Altoona High School, boys basketball coach over there too. But Paulie Henricks, big time into Demolition Derby too. And I saw he was on posting it up on Facebook. Was it last week? Took a road trip over to Minnesota to try his hand over there with his Demolition Derby stuff. So, but shout out to Paul Henricks, and I mean that guy is dedicated to some Demolition Derby stuff over there too. So, got to give our Weekend Warrior shout out to Mr. Coach Paul Henricks over there in Altoona. Paul, if you're listening, there you go. You're our Weekend Warrior highlight shout out for this Monday morning. We're going to get to that Packers chat coming up here in just a little bit. But before we do so, let's do a quick update, recap, rundown on the latest surrounding the Milwaukee Bucks and their free agency and what they've done in free agency thus far, and some of the rumors that are out there. So, one, I should say two, they have signed up a couple of free agents. Taurean Prince, who is from the Lakers last year, but with these two players that the Bucks have signed, you're going to find a common theme here: defense. Okay, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Jim Ozarski does a fantastic job of keeping everybody up to date. We got to get Jim back on the program here, but as Jim notes, in search of a defensive-minded wing player, the Bucks agreed to sign veteran forward Taurean Prince, the 6'6" forward, played with the Lakers last year, as we said, but he's also got a connection with Darvin Ham, who was with the Lakers last couple of years, former assistant, now assistant with the Bucks. But Darvin Ham, Taurean Prince, now going to be a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, entering his 8th season in the NBA. Probably going to be a guy coming off the bench, but he's a defensive-minded wing player, and obviously we know that the Bucks looking to improve their defense. So they did that with him. They're also signing Delon Wright from the Miami Heat. He is also a veteran, defensive-minded combo guard who can play both the shooting guard and the point guard spot. He's coming over from the Miami Heat. Points wise, he averaged about 8 points per game in the postseason this past year. But again, he's going to be a guy probably coming off the bench, adding a little bit more depth to that group there. So right now, when you look at their roster, when you look at the Bucks roster here, it's kind of the same starting five. Still got Brook on there. Still got Giannis, Middleton, Dame. The only difference here would be Malik Beasley, because Malik Beasley's no longer with the team. So Bucks potentially looking at a new shooting guard, another backcourt help here. Otherwise, right now, if you look at it, they got Prince slotted in as a starting forward, Middleton over to the 2 guard spot. I don't want to see that right now. I don't want to see that, but so that's probably their biggest need right now, or their biggest area of concern is, again, who's going to be the 2 guard. And I feel like this has been something that the Bucks have struggled to find the last couple of years, maybe ever since Dante DiVincenzo and such. But that's honestly probably their biggest need right now is who's going to be that starting shooting guard. Could it be somebody like Gary Trent Jr.? According to rumors out there, the Bucks are interested in Gary Trent Jr. He was a guy that I mentioned last year I would love to see as a member of the Bucks. I don't think they're going to be able to afford him. One, the Lakers are apparently rumored to be interested in Gary Trent Jr. too. But I think Gary's going to get more money than what the Bucks can offer him. But he is a former teammate of Dame, so I mean he's familiar. Backcourt there, could that be a little bit of a draw there? Scored 13.7 points per game last year, a little bit down from the year prior, where he averaged 17 points per game. But I think if somehow the Bucks could swing that, boy, that would be a home run signing, in my opinion. That would be a home run signing if the Bucks were able to get Gary Trent. Then you put him and Dame in that backcourt together. I'm liking that backcourt. I'm liking that backcourt. So we'll see. I've got my struggle, or I've got my doubts that they're going to be able to sign Gary Trent Jr. I feel like another team's going to come in there and they're going to make him an offer he can't refuse and give him a little bit more money than what the Bucks can do over there. And again, really, there's not a whole lot that the Bucks can do, right? There's not a whole lot they can do because of their financial restrictions. Now they can extend some contracts if they decide, if they want to. Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton are extension eligible. According to the Journal Sentinel, Portis can receive a maximum contract from the Bucks of $78.9 million over the next 4 years. The Journal Sentinel has learned that while Portis is interested in an extension, there has been no movement on that front from the organization. So, bless you, man. Bless you over there. So, it seems like Brook Lopez is still on the trade market too, but again, got to find a partner that's going to be willing to put together a package to acquire him and trade for him. It takes 2 to tango to make that deal happen if the Bucks are really seriously looking to move on from him. Obviously, with some of the moves already made in free agency, Paul George is going over to the Celtics. Paul George moving from the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference. Or the 76ers. Did I say Celtics? Yeah, I said, yeah. I'm glad Hudson just caught me down. Paul George went to the 76ers, not the Celtics. Celtics still doing their thing. They just re-signed Jason Tatum and White over there to contract extensions. But Celtics are going to be bringing back the majority of their group. You got the 76ers now with Paul George and Joel Embiid and Muncy. You got the Knicks with Bridges added to Jalen Brunson and that group over there. I mean, you got teams in the Eastern Conference now, top 3 teams. Those are probably the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. Where do you put the Bucks in this whole thing? Are the Bucks right now, are they behind all 3 of those teams, do you think? Do you think they're behind? I think they're behind the Celtics. 76ers now with Paul George. The biggest thing with Paul George is guys got to stay healthy. Joel Embiid's got to stay healthy too. But if they stay healthy, that's a good threesome over there with Paul George, Muncy, and Joel Embiid. You got the hype now. Okay. Maxey. I said Maxey, didn't I? I gotta turn your mic on there, dude, so people can hear you. So, then you got the Knicks going on over there too, with Brunson and Mikal Bridges and Dante DiVincenzo and that entire group over there. So I don't know. I think the Bucks are probably the fourth best over there in the Eastern Conference. So, all right, let's talk some. Talk some Bucks coming up here, or excuse me, some Packers. See, I'm still on vacation mode right now. Let's talk some Packers. All right, let's talk some Packers. Top storylines heading into training camp. All right, top storylines heading into training camp. 2 weeks from today, Packers will open up their training camp, and you also have the. Did I say I did? I did keep saying Tyrese Maxey, didn't or Max Muncy, didn't I? It's Tyrese Maxey. This is why I need a producer like you, Hudson. That's why I don't know why I had Max Muncy on my mind for baseball. Tyrese Maxey. Thanks, man. I had baseball on my mind. See, I don't know what I was doing over there. My apologies. Thanks, Hudson, for correcting me. But let's go to talking a little Packers here this morning. Top storylines heading into training camp. What are your top storylines heading into training camp? We're going to highlight one or two per day up until the opening day of training camp. But what do you think? What do you think are some of the top ones there? I've got my list. I'm not going to go through the whole list today, but we're going to go through two of them. We're going to highlight two of them. Now they could be a player, they could be a coach, they could be a position group, whatever the case may be. Okay, whatever the case may be. But I'm curious to see if we got a lot of the same ones because I think we'll have a lot of the same ones over there. But I'm curious to see maybe where our differences are. Do we have something out there? Let me know because there might be one I forgot. Obviously, I'm screwing up with names here, so I might have forgot a couple of them over there too. So hit me up. Hit me up with a text 715-830-1912. All right. So let's talk a little green and gold to switch things up here. Since I can't talk basketball, I get names mixed up with baseball players here this morning. Holy moly. Apologies for that. All right, we'll be back. Looking to do some remodeling or updating in your home when it comes to your floors? Look no further than our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Whether it's new carpet, new tile, new laminate, luxury vinyl planks, whatever the case may be, Carpet City Flooring Center has you covered. The best selection to choose from, the best prices, because, well, they will match or beat the competition if you happen to find a better deal elsewhere. But what sets Carpet City Flooring Center apart from the rest is just the awesome people that you get to work with over there. They'll work with you to not only find what looks good in your home or your space, but also what works within your budget too. So you can head on over there, stop by the store at Carpet City Flooring Center here in Eau Claire, chat with the awesome team there, and they'll help you out. They're located at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue. All right, that's over kind of by the London Square, Micon Cinemas over there on London Square, that stretch of road over there. So check them out. And it's time. I think it's time that you probably listen right now. You're like, you know what? I got a room or I got a space that it's been a while. Maybe you've never replaced the floor in there. It's time to do a little upgrading. So go make a visit to our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. All right, let's see if I can get some more names wrong here now. Boy, I apologize for that too. That's going to eat at me all day today. So, but let's talk a little Packers here this morning. So we are 2 weeks away from training camp. 2 weeks away from training camp opening up. Hard to believe that, but it is almost football season here. So we are kicking off our series of the top, in my opinion, top 14, since we got 14 days, top 14 storylines, things to watch, that sort of stuff as we approach the start of training camp here. So these are my lists. All right, this is my list. These are my picks. I'm not going to go through all of them today because we're going to highlight one or two per day up until the opening of camp, which is 2 weeks from today. But I welcome other opinions, other picks in that. You got to there's got to be some out there from you. So hit me up with the text. All right, what do you think are some of the top storylines heading into Packers training camp? So with that, I'll highlight two. I'm going to go through two today, just to kind of kick it off here. Since we're on the air 10 days out of the 14, there's going to be a couple days where we got to do two of them on there. So I'm going to do two today. My first one, and some of these are going to be very obvious ones here, but I think they're worth mentioning, and they're sort of big storylines, in my opinion, at least, heading into training camp. I combine both of these guys because they've been a story all off season, and we're hearing great things about them and all that sort of stuff. But now, once training camp gets going here and preseason and all that, that's going to be our first test. And I'm talking about Christian Watson and Eric Stokes and hamstring gate. Have their soft tissue injuries, have they figured it out? Because we've heard all off season, even at the end of the regular season, the Packers sending them down to some specialists in Madison to try to figure out what's going on with their soft tissue injuries. Why they keep pulling hamstrings? What's going on here? And we've heard, Watson's been building up leg strength in one of his legs, and Stokes, kind of the same thing here. They've got all this fancy data that is way above my pay grade to try to even figure out a lot of, that sort of stuff there. But that's great that they think they've got a plan, that they've got it figured out, and they're working towards that. But now with training camp opening up, practices, constant practices, getting ready for games, now we'll start to get a glimpse if they finally got it figured out when it comes to these two guys and their soft tissue injuries. Because Watson and Stokes have to be big players for this team, for this team to live up to the expectations for this upcoming season, to hit their goals, the team's goals. It's championship. It's Super Bowl expectations this year. Based off of how last year went, the excitement and how they played, There's some high goals, and rightfully so, and there should be this year. But for the team to do that, Watson and Stokes have to be big-time contributors to this ball club. All talk offseason has been, do the Packers have a number one wide receiver? Do they even need a number one wide receiver? And if they don't have that number one wide receiver, who's that guy that could develop into a number one wide receiver? And the prevailing theory out there is that Christian Watson is the guy that could develop into a number one type of receiver. He's got the height, he's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got big play potential. The only issue with Christian Watson has been, can he stay healthy? If Christian Watson can stay healthy and play double-digit games this year, he's a difference maker within this offense. He is the guy that can spread the ball around, be your deep threat. If he is healthy and he is playing at a high level, at a level that I think, that level, that second half that maybe we saw in his rookie year, where he was just looking lights out, right? We all can remember that kind of got started with that game against Dallas. That turned the page. If that's what we see from Christian Watson throughout the entire season this year, that is a big-time element within this offense. But the biggest question is going to be, can he stay on the field? Can he stay healthy? Keep hearing about, they've got it figured out. They've got the plan in place. Well, let's see it now. Same with Stokes. Going back to the offseason, to the draft, a lot of people thought, okay, Green Bay, they're going to need some corners. Bringing in Jeff Hafley as defensive coordinator, he's got a secondary background. He likes his corners to play man versus man coverage. Packers may need some more corners to go with that because you got Jair, but then it's Carrington Valentine and Keyshawn Nixon. Probably need some more depth there. Stokes was up in the air because, again, injuries. Stokes, if he's healthy and he's got that figured out and his injuries are in the past, that's not to say that he's not going to, get banged up here or there. Odds are it's going to happen. But as he turned the corner from that gruesome leg injury he suffered in his sophomore year, that has kind of derailed his young career so far, because in his rookie season, Eric Stokes played really well. He was thrown in as a starter because of injuries to Jair and others. Remember, that was when they also had to acquire Rasul Douglas and such. But Eric Stokes had a solid rookie year. And then going into his sophomore year, his second year, there were some high expectations. Then he got hurt. And then last year just never was able to get out on the field. Every time he tried to, it was just a setback. He's got the speed. He's got the height. He's a guy that should play well within this style of defense from Jeff Hafley. But the Packers are going to need him to be out on that field, to be a boundary corner, to utilize that speed. I think the Packers are best, and I love Carrington Valentine, okay? But I think the Packers are best. Their best three corners have to be, or let me just say the best two corners, have to be Jair and Eric Stokes outside on the perimeter. That's your best two. Eric Stokes is going to, if this Packers defense wants to do what they want to play, that press man coverage, they want to line up one-on-one, they need Eric Stokes out there. They need Eric Stokes healthy and playing at a high level out there. So to me, this is one of the biggest stories heading into training camp. Is Watson and Stokes, have they finally figured out their issues, their injury concerns? And are they finally turning that page here? And are they going to be big-time contributors? We keep hearing this stuff that they've got it figured out, and we keep seeing clips from their mini camps and OTAs and all that. This will be our first glimpse into training camp here. My second storyline heading into this one is I'm going to go with Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur the offense because there's a lot of hype surrounding this group, isn't there? There's a lot of excitement surrounding this group. I mean, you read all the blogs and you read all the off-season rankings from all the national pundits out there. There's a lot of hype, a lot of expectations surrounding this group. Jordan Love, the young receivers, they don't need a number one guy. Tight ends, Josh Jacobs coming over. There's a ton of love for this offensive group. How do they live up to those expectations? What does Matt LaFleur have up his sleeve? How is he, what has he done? And we're not necessarily going to know it in training camp. He's not going to open up his playbook in training camp. He's not going to open up his playbook in the preseason. That's just dumb. But we could get a glimpse of some things. Like what are some groupings? What are some offensive groupings? What are some, are they going to utilize how often two tight end sets? Are we going to see some of that? Are we going to see, A.J. Dillon as part of an H-back role? Are we going to see him utilize that? That was kind of speculated. Is he going to be a fullback type of player? Are we going to see that in training camp? This to me, if I said it a while ago, if I'm Matt LaFleur, I'm like Dr. Frankenstein, or I'm like a young mad scientist. When I see what I've got here with my offensive skill players and the versatility that they kind of bring and the different things that I can do, I'm excited and I'm pumped. Not to say he has to get way crazy and do some just like out of this world stuff, but he's got some options here and he's got some versatility where he can get creative with some of his play calls, with some of his formations, with some of his personnel groupings here. So I look at this as Matt LaFleur / the offense heading into training camp. What is it going to look like? And can they live up to all this hype and this talk? Because remember, too, this is a young group. All right, this is a young group. You hope they're not listening to all the talk out there, reading the headlines, reading the tweets, the Facebook messages, all these blogs, talking them up. Hopefully they're kind of muting that out so they're not, reading their own stuff there and getting too big of a head out and such. But I think the sky is the limit for this Packers offense. But the question is, how is it all going to look? And I'm curious to see what are some of the new stuff, what are some of the new wrinkles that Matt LaFleur will have with this group. Will he have Musgrave, Kraft out there together? Are we going to see more two tight end sets this year? But they got a lot of depth at wide receiver. How does Josh Jacobs fit into this? Are they going to, is he going to be that bell cow where, he's going to be a 3-down back, not going to be a whole lot of subbing? And what's A.J. Dillon's role going to be this year? Because I'll go back to, I think it was at the owners' meetings in February where Matt LaFleur kind of hinted a little bit at a different role for A.J. Dillon. And I think a lot of us thought, okay, maybe fullback, but maybe it's that H-back role, a role that the Packers have struggled to find somebody to fit that role since Matt LaFleur came in there. They thought it was going to be Josiah DeGuara. It really hasn't turned out that way. Josiah's not even there anymore. So could that be a role for A.J. Dillon? So, again, we're not going to see the playbook, the entire playbook in training camp or in preseason, but maybe we could get a little bit of a glimpse at what Matt wants to do or what some of the formations, the personnel groupings are going to look like. And just see a lot of these guys, what their growth maybe a little bit. Just maybe a little bit of a teaser. Didn't even talk about Jordan Love as much here. And trust me, Jordan Love is going to be a part of this coming up here a little bit later on. But I think, maybe the offense caught a lot of people off guard last year with how well they played down the stretch because you had new guys all across the board, right? Jordan Love was new. All these receivers were new. Aaron Jones missed a lot of time, but he was like the only staple over there. So you had a lot of new stuff. You got more film out on these guys now. You got film out on this offense from the second half, and I guarantee you, these teams like the Eagles, their first game, they're going to be looking at that second half. When they're studying a lot of film, they're going to be looking at that second half Packers offense, be like, okay, what do we got to prepare here for? Who do we got to watch for? All right, so what is Matt LaFleur going to bring in this year that is new, formation-wise, schematic-wise? How does he incorporate all of these players, all of these weapons that he has? That to me is going to be fun to kind of follow. And I think that's a big storyline because those expectations are big for this offense to be a top five. I would say top five group, maybe just outside top five. I think there's that expectation out there that they're going to be a top five, or they should be at least a top five offense, or top six, top seven, somewhere around there. We'll get to more coming up. I've got 12 more here, but I want to kind of spread it out here. Not going to go through all of them here, but my first two storylines heading into training camp. Training camp kicks off 2 weeks from today. Watson and Stokes, have they turned the corner with their hamstrings, with their injuries? Because I think they're pivotal players for this team. Their Super Bowl goals, they got to be two players that got to be a part of that equation. They can't be guys that are just going to play a few games here and still dealing with injuries. That can't happen. For this team to go make a deep run and get a championship, Stokes and Watson have to be big players with that. And my second one, what's this offense going to look like? What's Matt LaFleur got dialed up? How's it all going to look? We'll get to more throughout the week here. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll finish up the second hour. Make your picks, though. What else do you got? Maybe it's one of mine coming up a little bit later on. Maybe you got one that I didn't even think of, and I might have to switch something out, all right? All right, we'll be back after these few words. You in the market for a new home, or maybe you're looking for a new sanctuary, like a parcel of land, or maybe some waterfront property, or maybe some acreage to do some hunting and such. Well, let Woods and Water Realty help you out. Just visit woodsandwater.com, your real estate store, Woods and Water. And you can check out all their listings, all the listings up at woodsandwater.com. Maybe you can check out and find your new dream home, or maybe you're looking for that piece of land to build a cabin or put a camper up or start your own deer camp, or maybe you're looking for some waterfront property so you can go over there for a weekend escape and such. Whatever the case may be, Woods and Water Realty will help you out. They've got all the listings up there. We've used Woods and Water. My wife and I have used Woods and Water for our homes, and they're just awesome to work with. The Bruce, Kristen, the entire team over there at Woods and Water Realty, just awesome people there, and they make the whole process super easy. Home buying process, especially, can get really complicated, but they make it super easy. So if you're thinking about maybe getting a new home or getting your first home, or maybe looking for some hunting land and such, check out woodsandwater.com, woodsandwater.com, to see all the listings that are out there. I'm not gonna lie, I've been kind of looking over there too. I mean, like, man, it'd be nice just to have like half an acre next to some water, and I'll just put a little camper over there and such. But yeah, well, been looking. All right, we got about 10 minutes to the top of the hour here. So also coming up next hour, we're gonna do a little weekend hangover. So, all right, peeps, I want to hear from you. Hit me up with the text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. What's the best? What was the worst from this past weekend or the past few days? All right, let me know. Make your picks. I want to hear from you this morning. Okay, I know it's Monday morning, but I want to hear from you. We'll get to that just past 8 o'clock. Nick Collins continues to dominate in our poll of the most underrated Wisconsin sports athlete of all time. I think it's going to be okay to call this one coming up here quickly. So we're going to do a Brewers one coming up in the 8 o'clock hour as well, as we just got a couple more, or maybe a few more here before we get into the to the second round here. But some second round matchups to kind of give you a little bit of a tease here as we finish off this, or as we continue this bracket challenge here. Jeff Cirillo is going to be going up against Corey Hart. Jim Gantner is going to be going up against Lyle Overbay. Kirk Penny is going to be going up against Scott Tolzien. Amon Green is going to be going up against, if Nick Collins continues the way he's going right now, it'll be Amon Green versus Nick Collins. We've got Lynn Dickey is going to be going up against Tim Harris. Andy North is going to be going up against Eric Hayden. And Terry Porter is going to be going up against Vin Baker. So those are kind of some of the previews here for some of our second round matchups. Not all of them, but those are some of them right now. So we'll add to that list later on today. We'll have another Brewer one. I might do a third one here later on this afternoon, just to kind of. I'm really curious to see how we get into the second round for some of these matchups here. So make sure you're following along on Facebook, facebook.com/Kasper Sports, KASPER Sports, or twitter.com @DANKASPER. So also coming up next hour, we'll get back to some more Brewers chats. We'll get back to some more Brewers talk here, with the Brewers avoiding the sweep by the Dodgers. Crew have the off day today before they're probably home now, but they'll finish off this week all at home before the All-Star break. They've got the Pirates starting tomorrow for 3 games, and then they've got the Washington Nationals for 3 games before the All-Star break. That begins a week from today. So we'll talk a little bit more about this series against the Dodgers. How you feeling about your team now, Brewers fans, after this series against the Dodgers? Another kind of litmus test, another test, matchup against one of the best in all of Major League Baseball, especially in the National League there. So how you feeling about your Brewers team from what you saw with this series against the Dodgers? Give me your analysis. Give me your input. How you feeling right now? So Brewers still 5 games ahead of the pesky St. Louis Cardinals for first place in the NL Central. Those Cardinals will just not go away right now. But yeah, they're where are they sitting at? Is it 5 games above 500? Where's yeah, 5 games above 500. The Cardinals 47 and 42. So Pittsburgh's in third. They're 42 and 47. They're 10 games back. The Reds 10.5 back, and the Cubs still holding up the rear. 11 games back in last place in the Central. So, but we'll talk some more baseball coming up next hour, and maybe kind of take a look at Ganter across Major League Baseball since it's been a little bit here too. So, one of the questions we asked in the first hour when it came to the Brewers, though, they've made a couple moves to add some starters, right? Aaron, Dallas joining the group here. Do you think that starting pitching is still the Brewers' biggest need with the trade deadline coming up at the end of the month? Or do you think now, okay, they added a couple starters, maybe it's another bullpen arm? Maybe it's, I mean, is there anybody out there that thinks they need to make a move for more offense? Maybe a depth piece. Maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be a starting offensive player, but maybe you think, you know what, I'd like them to have another option at third that's more of a power presence at third. You know, Andrew Monasterio's over there, but does he really bring a lot of pop to his bat? No, he doesn't. Joey Ortiz is, going to be your guy when he's back, but maybe you want a little bit more power in terms of the depth at the hot spot. So, curious to get your thoughts. Do you think with the Brewers adding a couple starters, has that moved the priority list, in your opinion, of what their biggest needs are now as they approach the trade deadline coming up at the end of the month here? And I'll be curious to see where, got a few weeks yet to it, but you look at the NL wildcard race, you still got a bunch of teams that are not that far out. They're not that far out, and it's going to make the trade deadline, and a lot of things can change from now until the end of the month here, but it's going to make that trade deadline kind of interesting because how many teams are actually going to be sellers? I mean, you look at the National League alone, we kind of make fun of the Cubs for being last in the NL Central. They're 5.5 back, though, from a wild card spot. Then there's a huge drop. You got Colorado that's 15 back, and then Miami that's 15 back. But really, there's just 2 teams in the National League, Colorado and Miami, that are just they're completely out of it right now. 15 games back. Those 2 teams are 15 games back. But everybody else is 5.5 or fewer from that last wild card spot. Your current wild card teams are the Braves, which I think a lot of people are going to assume that they're going to be one of the teams. They're 10 games above 500. Then it's the Cardinals and the Padres. So, I mean, teams like the Nationals really are only 5 back. Giants are 3.5 back. The Mets are 2 back. Teams like that are like, okay, could they be sellers? They may not be sellers at this point. Again, a lot could change towards the end of the month here. But there might be some slim pickings, or at least the price is going to be incredibly high for some of these players that we maybe thought would be available at the trade deadline, but they're not. American League, I mean, your wildcard teams now are the Yankees, the Twins, and the Red Sox. It's going to be between the Yankees and Baltimore going back and forth within that division. But you got 3 AL East teams right now currently in the postseason. Kansas City's 1.5 back. Houston's 3.5 back. Tampa's 5.5 back. Detroit 7.5. Texas 7.5. Toronto 8.5. Then you got the Angels that are 12, and then Oakland and Chicago 16.5, and Chicago's White Sox 24.5 back. So, but we'll dive into this a little bit more coming up in the next hour. Don't forget to send me your weekend hangovers. We're going to do that coming up just past the news updates here. So what was the best? What was the worst? What was the highs? What were the lows from the weekend, or maybe the extended weekend for a lot of you with the 4th of July weekend. Share it with the rest of the class, all right? Share it with the rest of the class. I've got my couple. I've got one good, and I got one low here. So we'll get to that just past 8 o'clock before we get back to some more Brewers and some more Major League Baseball talk too. So then we got picks and predicts coming up at the back end of the 8 o'clock hour. I know, again, no Brewers game, but we got the Twins who are in action. They walk-off victory yesterday against the Houston Astros. So Twins going to be going up against the White Sox. Chance for them to add some more wins to the win column there. Express also have the off day today before they take on the Rochester Honkers at Carson Park starting tomorrow. And shout out to the CRBL All-Star game yesterday. Everybody who participated in the Chippewa River Baseball League. South All-Stars defeated the North All-Stars 2-0. So, all right, shot clock's going to cut me off here. So we got some news updates coming up, and then weekend hangover, and let's talk some baseball, and we'll talk some more Brewers here too. Do you think, after the Brewers have acquired a couple starters now, that priority has changed? That, okay, maybe it's a bullpen arm that they need to acquire before the deadline, or do you think they still have to go out there and get another starter? Let's talk about it, all right? 2 in. We got one more to go. Stick around. We'll be back after these quick words. Third and final hour on this Monday morning kicks off right now, July 8th. Big thanks for tuning in this morning. Join in on the convo. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Chime in on Facebook, facebook.com/Kasper Sports, Kasper Sports, Twitter at DANKASPER. Also, video streams are up and rolling. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Coming up, we're going to talk some Brewers baseball, talk a little Major League Baseball overall. Question we got out there for you Brewers fans is, with the Brewers adding a couple starters now, do you think that priority has changed where, okay, maybe the biggest need isn't a starter now, but maybe it's a bullpen or maybe it's some offensive depth, or do you still think it is starting pitching? All right. Make your opinion known. Make your thoughts known. Hit me up with that text or comment on the video streams, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff there. Let's before we get to some baseball chat here, and before I announce the next matchup, although if you're on Facebook and Twitter, you probably already saw it. Let's do the weekend hangover, the highs and the lows, the best and the worst from the weekend. My picks, both of mine are going to come from the Brewers here. So my low, I'll start off with the low. The low, dropping the series to the Dodgers. I mean, at least they got the win yesterday to avoid a sweep. But, Friday, you have a 5-2 lead, you lose it. Saturday, you tie it up with a Yelich home run, 3-3 in the eighth, and then you follow it up by giving up 2 home runs in the bottom of the eighth there. So, I mean, the Brewers had a chance to win this series and to maybe really make some noise here and to really maybe kind of calm some of the talk out there saying, okay, they can hang with those type of teams, but can they beat them? So I feel like they kind of let the Dodgers, they let them off the hook a little bit. So that's a little bit of a low for me. But my high is Christian Yelich right now, because Christian Yelich is just playing some remarkable baseball on the offensive side. I know we went through his numbers in the first hour, but his numbers right now for Yelich, he's putting up similar stats to 2018 and 2019, those 2 years that we keep going back to. Home run numbers are, he's not going to reach 44 or anything like that, but it's like 2018 when he went on that run after the All-Star break with his home run numbers and such. But, I mean, Yelich so far this year, 329 batting average, 407 on base, a 940 OPS. You go back to his last 28 at-bats, the man is hitting 393 with a 469 on base and an 893 slugging. So my high, or my best, is Christian Yelich. So that's my weekend hangover. We'll get to some of yours coming up a little bit later on. The next matchup for our brackets, the most underrated Wisconsin sports athlete of all time, as nominated by you and voted on by you. We are back to the Brewers region. It's already up on Facebook and Twitter. Some of you have already voted. But we're going to go with Chris Capuano or Dan Plesac. So make your votes known, Facebook and Twitter. I think it's safe to say we're going to call the Collins and Campman one, unless we get a lot of Campman followers voting on there, but it looks like Nick Collins is going to move on and face Amon Green in the second round. We've just got a few more first round matchups coming at you here, so we'll going to finish those up and then we'll get to the second round here. But Dan Plesac looks like he's jumped out to an early lead. At least he is on Facebook. I don't have Twitter currently up, so I don't know how the votes are going over there. But that's, let me see if I can bring it up here. But is it coming up? Nope, not coming up here yet. So, but oh, okay. See, this is what happens. I've noticed this quite a bit. Facebook leans one way, Twitter goes the other way. Right now, Twitter, it's all about Chris Capuano. Facebook, though, Dan Plesac. So, all right, get your votes in. Facebook or Twitter. Let's talk some more Brewers here as we get I guess I was going to say set for Pittsburgh, but they've got the off day today and getting set for the Pirates starting tomorrow. But Brewers still in first place in the NL Central, 5 games over those pesky St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals just hanging around right now. Cubs are still in last place, in case anybody was wondering. But the Cardinals, now you kind of have to watch what maybe they're doing here. They've got the Royals. Well, first of all, they got to finish up with the Nationals today. Go Nationals. Then they've got the Royals coming to town here. So go Royals. And then they got the Cubbies before the All-Star break. So, but then Cardinals have the Braves right after the All-Star break. So maybe kind of doing a little scoreboard watching there. But Brewers, did you learn anything? How do you feel about what you saw from your team going up against the Dodgers? Because heading into it, I was looking at this series as another litmus test, as another test to barometer to see where this team's matched up against one of the best in all of Major League Baseball, easily one of the best in the National League. Kind of the same way we went into that Phillies series a month ago. And then after the Phillies series, sweep, kind of had the mindset maybe similar to what Christian Yelich said afterwards. We can hang with these teams. We can play with these teams. But we got to beat these teams. We got to learn to beat these teams. And I just feel like this Brewers team with this Dodgers series, Brewers had chances. I mean, you had a 5-2, 5-3 lead, 5-2, then it was 5-4 in that first game. Couldn't hold on. You come back in game 2 on Saturday, you tie it up with a Yelich solo shot in the 8th, 3 apiece, and then you follow that up by giving up 2 home runs in the bottom of the 8th. And then you get the win on Sunday. It felt like they just let the Dodgers off the hook. And that's, to me, when it comes to this Brewers team right now. Yes, they can play with the Phillies. Yes, they can play with the Dodgers. They can make it close. But their margin of error, that line, is so thin for the Brewers when they go up against teams like the Dodgers and the Phillies. Like, I almost feel like they make one mistake. They make one mistake or a couple mistakes. That could be the difference. Whereas Dodgers make a mistake, they're pretty good. They got a pretty good lineup. Phillies, they got a pretty good lineup. They make a mistake or two. They've got the talent to maybe make up for that. Do the Brewers have that though? I mean, they've had a lot of come from behind wins this year, no doubt about it. We've seen the numbers. We've seen those numbers. But how many of those games, too, not to be a Debbie Downer, how many of those games have been against teams of the same caliber of like Philly and the Dodgers? Not too many. So that'd be my one thing as we get, into the All-Star break, but when we get closer to the postseason and such. Are the Brewers a team that can play, dare I say, perfect baseball against teams like the Phillies and the Dodgers? Can they have that, can they avoid that one error, or can they avoid those couple mistakes that could potentially lead them to a win there? And I will say this too. That series against Philly and the series against the Dodgers, they were on the road. Would it be different? Would it have been different if any of these games were in Milwaukee, where Milwaukee has been a much better team this year? Very good home team this year. We're going to see the Dodgers come to town in the middle of August for 4 games, and we're going to see Philadelphia come to town for 3 games in September. So, I mean, we're going to get that shot. We're going to be able to see if potentially that makes a difference here. But, I mean, I'm not saying that after the series against the Dodgers, the Brewers are in trouble. No. I would not put them at that level with the Phillies and the Dodgers in the National League right now. That just feels like they're step and a half below them. And I feel like a lot of this is just that margin of error is so thin. It's so small for a team like the Brewers. They got a lot of talent, and they're playing incredibly well this year. But that line is so thin in terms of, you can't make a mistake against teams like the Dodgers or the Phillies. because they'll come back to bite you. Or they'll burn you. Or those teams will take advantage of that in a heartbeat. And I think we saw that this weekend against the Dodgers. I really do. A lot of you saying you still think that the Brewers need starting pitching. That even though with a couple of acquisitions that you still feel like the Brewers need some starters, and for the most part, yeah, I'd probably agree with you. At this point in time, though, whether they go out and get a bullpen arm or another starter, I'd be good with both, to be honest with you. Now I know Devin Williams coming back at the end of the month. He's going to kind of, once he solidifies or he establishes himself back in the closing role, because I can see the Brewers, when he's back, maybe kind of easing him on in. But eventually he's going to be that closer. So then it moves Trevor McGill maybe to the setup role and just kind of moves everybody back there a little bit. But I think, yeah, starter would still be out there because right now, I mean, your depth at starting pitching, Freddie Peralta is going to be a starter. Colin Ray is going to be a starter. Aaron's going to be a starter. Aaron Savali, your new acquisition. And then Dallas Keuchel is probably going to be your starter, although that could still be kind of up in the air here. And then, is it a Bryce Wilson? He's been coming out of the bullpen here a little bit. DL Hall maybe potentially coming back, but maybe he goes to the bullpen. Joe Ross. I think there's room for another starting pitcher for this team. Who that is, I'm not quite sure right now, because when you look at some of the teams that are still alive in the postseason, this trade deadline is going to get interesting, because in the National League, especially when you look at the standings, every team besides two are at most 5.5 games within a wild card spot. The Chicago Cubs, who are dead last, 10 games behind the Brewers, or 11 games, behind the Brewers in the NL Central, are just 5.5 back from the final wild card spot. Then it's Colorado and Florida, who are 15 games back. It drops off big time like that. But you got the Mets that are just 2 games back there. But you got the Mets who are just 2 games back there. You've got Pirates that are still just a couple games back from the wild card. Slim pickings all across the board. Potentially, when you look at some teams that maybe a month or so ago, we were thinking, okay, maybe we can get some rental players, I don't know, from the Mets or from some of these other teams. If they're still in it, a lot of time is yet to be played. But if they're still in it, they may not want to trade off any of their guys when it comes to that trade deadline coming up at the end of the month. They may want to say, all right, maybe back in June we thought we were going to be sellers, but the way everything's kind of playing out right now, we may want to hold on to our cards. I mean, for crying out loud, the Washington Nationals are just 5 games back. American League's a little bit different. I mean, I think we're all assuming the White Sox are probably going to sell some of their players. I mean, they're 24.5 back. Oakland's 16.5 back. The Angels are 12 back. Toronto's going to be an interesting case because they're 8.5 back right now. But you got 3 American League East teams who are currently in the postseason right now. So I don't have a good gauge how this trade deadline is going to work, how it's going to play out. I know we got a few weeks yet. A lot can change by the end of the month here. But with so many teams still kind of in that playoff hunt for a wild card spot, how many guys are actually going to be available at the trade deadline? I don't know. It's tough. But the Brewers are getting some pitching help back with DL Hall. I think when DL Hall comes back, I know he started off the season as a starter, but I think they might move him to the bullpen. You know, one guy we haven't heard a whole lot about from the Brewers yet is Aaron Ashby. Right? We haven't heard a whole lot about Aaron Ashby, and we've seen him a little bit here and there. And I know they're kind of being patient with him and slowly bringing him, bringing him along in AAA, and he's made some appearances at the big league club and such. But you throw him in. Brewers have arms. I think the question, or they're going to have arms here in the next couple of weeks when guys like DL Hall come back and Joe Ross come back and such. The question I think is there at that point is like, okay, do we have enough talented arms? Do we have enough talented arms to make a deep run in the postseason, advance in the postseason? That's where the question is. It's not like they're not going to have options. The question is going to be, do they have enough quality options? But yeah, I would agree with the majority of you. I think it's still get me another starter. Get me another starter because then I think, you can put a DL Hall in a bullpen. You can, I don't know what Joe Ross, what he's going to be. Could you put him in a bullpen option? I'm assuming so. Bryce Wilson, we know, is a bullpen option. Jacob Junis, he started off starting some games at the beginning, but he's kind of coming out of the bullpen here too. Yeah, I'd still like a starter. Man, how if they get another starter though, think about how different the starting rotation could potentially look beginning of August compared to what it was at the beginning of the year. Beginning of the year was what? Freddie Peralta, DL Hall, Joe Ross, Wade Miley, and Jacob Junis. And now it's Freddie Peralta or Colin Ray. I haven't even mentioned Colin Ray into this thing yet. But it could look completely different. Almost completely different at the beginning of August here. Yeah, there's a couple pitchers maybe from the Miami Marlins they could potentially look at over there. Would Miami be willing to do that? I mean, Miami last year surprising teams. Do they want to, sell that quick? Yeah, they probably do. I mean, they're the Marlins, right? They're the Miami Marlins, so maybe. I wonder if like a guy like Jazz Chisholm is going to be traded to a contending team. Probably not the Brewers, but Miami's an interesting team to me to see how big of a seller they're going to be. I know Arise got traded earlier this season, but you look at some of their other younger players over there. I don't know. Be interesting. Pitching wise from the Marlins though, I mean, there's some potential options over there. I know Jesus was on the 60-day IL though, so that could potentially throw a wrench into that whole equation. But I don't know, I don't know. Yeah, Luzardo went through a wrench in that. I'm just looking at their options right now with the Marlins depth, and nothing's really kind of tripping my trigger, to be honest with you right now. Yeah. All right. Is there a name out there that you wouldn't mind? Is there a name that yeah, ooh, this was from a little bit ago, but Luzardo was placed on the DL lumbar stress reaction, likely out 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, take him off the list. We don't need to deal with that for the Brewers. We don't need to deal with that. No, thank you. On to the next. We've dealt enough with some of these injuries. I don't think we need to do that again. So, all right. A couple of you saying to ransack the paraphrasing, but ransack the pitching from the White Sox over there. Yeah, I feel like some of those White Sox pitchers, you're going to have a lot of teams calling in on some of the starters from the White Sox. I mean, those guys have been mentioned, I think, even since the beginning of the season. I mean, the White Sox overall are just dreadful. I mean, this team is awful, god awful. But Fetty has been mentioned, Garrett Groshette has been mentioned as trade targets for teams looking for starters. They may get the biggest command. I mean, they might be the ones that cost the most when it comes to trade deadline. They might be the two guys over there. I mean, there's not that starting pitcher out there that's, that could have been like a Corbin Burns if the Brewers kept him and the Brewers were struggling this year. I mean, Corbin Burns would be, or let's say Baltimore just stunk it up this year and they're not even in it. Baltimore might be looking to move him, but they're not going to. There isn't that, like, I would say, a clear-cut ace pitcher out there. I mean, maybe Eric Fetty. He's 6-3 with a 3.13 ERA, and really, with how the White Sox are, that probably is ace numbers for some teams out there when you factor that in. So, all right, we got to take a quick break. Maybe. Come on. Sometimes this computer wants to work, sometimes it doesn't. But we'll take a quick break. Brewers fans, keep your thoughts coming, all right? We'll get back to some more of them. We'll be back in just a few minutes. planning for some maybe summer road trips, vacations, or with the kiddos spending some more time at home with no school, you need some supplies. Head on over to our good friends at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Take advantage of their awesome deals. They've got daily deals going on. They've got sales going on all the time over there. And you can double dip too because you can take advantage of their fuel savers program that they have over there. So do that. You can save some money on some groceries, stock up the food pantries with the kids spending some time at home, the freezers with some pizzas and such. Or maybe you're going on a little vacation, need some snacks for the road, like in the cooler and that. Hit up Hy-Vee. All right, they got you covered over there. And again, take advantage of their fuel savers program as well. Thank you to some of you who have sent over some pictures for our Tilden Gun Trophy Gallery. That's up at our website, sportstalk1051.com. So keep those coming if you're having any luck on the water with some fishing and such. I know I haven't put up all of them yet because we've had quite a few coming over there. So be patient and such. But if you've had some luck on the water with some fishing and that, send over your photos, and then we'll put them up on the Tilden Gun Trophy Gallery. And again, I know it's July, but it's going to be coming here before you know it, hunting season. So you want to make sure that you're ready with hunting season. If you need a new deer hunting firearm, or maybe for bear hunting, or maybe some fall duck hunting, turkey hunting, that sort of stuff, you want to make a quick hop and a visit to our good friends at Tilden Gun there. Check out tildengun.com. Biggest selection, best prices, and they will help you find just what you're looking for too. They've done that with me when I was looking for a particular deer rifle over there too. So awesome. Big thanks to Sean and Hunter over there. Awesome people to work with. All right, we're already at almost 8:35 here. Holy moly here. Let's go back to a couple of texts that we got from EU out there with the Packers. Just scrolling on down here quick. Agree with you on the Packers and with your this looks like a little talk to text here. Agree with you with the Packers and Matt LaFleur and the offense being a key storyline coming into this season. I think there's a lot of high expectations for this group, but until we actually see it, it's a big unknown. Yeah, you're right. I would agree with you. I mean, there, as we talked about a little bit earlier, huge expectations, high expectations with this offensive group. I think if you're Matt LaFleur, you're excited because you can do some creativity with it. You've got some options. You can do some different stuff with it. But yeah, until we actually see it, that's why I have it as a storyline heading into training camp here. Because they got to hit those expectations. Keep talking about it. They've been a talking point all off season. You go to all those blogs and message boards. Do they even still do message boards? But go like to NFL.com or all that, or podcasts. A lot of people are high on the Packers offense this year. So that's where I kind of put Matt LaFleur under the spotlight. All right, what can you do? Not going to catch a lot of people off guard. People are going to know about it. So what do you have planned for this offense this year? Another text of this from Eric. You touched on my number one storyline heading into training camp for the Packers. It's the health, specifically how you mentioned Watson and Stokes' hamstring injuries over there. That has been such a talking point for the last couple of years. Talk is cheap. We've got to see these guys on the field and actually active on game days and contributing to this team. Do you think this is potentially their prove-it year and possibly being gone after this year? I don't. Not for like Watson. I don't see that happening. I think it might be a little too early for that for both those guys. I don't think they're going to be. I don't think it's going to be the final year for both those guys. Now, I think there's a lot to be proven this year for both of them. It starts by just being healthy and staying on the field and being contributors. Let's start with that. Let's see them just being healthy, staying healthy, and staying on the field. But I think those two guys gotta. If this team wants to be a Super Bowl champion this year, and they want to make a deep run in the postseason, They want to get back to the postseason and make it deeper into the postseason. Watson and Stokes have to be key players. And in order for them to be key players, they just got to be healthy and they got to be on the field. Accountability, availability. We're going to save a couple more of you mentioned some other ones here. And again, we're going to highlight different ones throughout the weeks here. But a couple of you mentioned too, easily the biggest talking point is going to be the defense and the new defensive coordinator and how this defense is going to look. Another one, this was from Matt, said that the biggest thing that you're going to be looking for heading into training camp is the continued emergence of Jordan Love. Well, I can guarantee you both of those are going to be coming up a little bit later on. A little bit later on when we kind of go through some of these. As a video streamer noted, I keep forgetting to mention Tobias Myers. You're exactly right. Tobias Myers is a part of this. Bullpen guy, it looks like, I mean, if you go to Brewers.com, they've already got him listed in the bullpen here. But a dude that is, I wouldn't mind if he's a part of the starting rotation. I was a little surprised to see that on Brewers.com they still have him listed as a bullpen guy over there. But I mean, his month of June, Tobias Myers was pretty darn impressive. I mean, is it fair to say he was the best pitcher in the month of June for the Brewers? I think so. I mean, even that game against Colorado, that was probably his big pickup, picking up a loss on the fourth and 6 innings, allowing 4 earned runs, 8 hits. And I know the game before that was the Cubbies, where kind of got a little dicey there. Picked up a no decision, but 3 earned runs on 7 hits. But that month of June, I mean, he ended up finishing 4-0 with a 1.44 ERA. You take away those 3 earned runs on that June 29th game against the Cubbies, he's got a sub-1 ERA. So the more these guys get back, I don't know what the plan is going to be for Tobias Myers. Is he going to remain in that rotation? Is he going to be part of the coming out of the bullpen here? That we'll see. But I still like Tobias Myers, and I hope they still have him part of their plans this year. I mean, in June, dude was hot. And he deserves to keep pitching, in my opinion. He deserves to be a part of that equation. I'm just kind of curious to see where, once you get these guys healthy, like a Joe Ross and a DL Hall, what has Pat Murphy got up his sleeve? Because Pat Murphy's he's played the keys, the piano keys, pretty well so far. He's, for the most part, has put these guys in a position to succeed, and he's pushed the right buttons. So when DL Hall comes back, when Joe Ross comes back, are those guys that get moved to the pen? DL Hall, I think, is going to get moved to the pen. Can they move a veteran like Joe Ross to the pen? Will they? And then, yeah, Tobias Myers. You're exactly right to the video streamer. Where does he factor into this? For me, I'd have no problem if he's still in the. Honestly, I'd probably rather have Tobias Myers over Joe Ross as a starter. Just my opinion. I'd rather have him as a starter. I think you got to give that youngster a shot. Give him the ball again. Brewers. Who do they got coming up here? Starting on Tuesday. They are going to start. Come on, lower up here. Brewers are going to have Colin Ray. Okay, 8-2. Colin Ray. What a season that guy's having. And then Tobias is going to get started on Wednesday. And then Aaron Savali is going to get the start on Thursday. All right, so they've got Tobias slated to start on Wednesday's game. All right. I'm perfectly good with that. Let's take a quick break here. We'll wrap things up. We've got some picks and predicts. Finish off the program here. Last call for any texts, any messages. Hit me up, 715-830-1912. Fire up the grills this summer with the best meat products in town, and that's from Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire, especially with the brat selection. A lot of brat selection over there. Bloody Mary ones are my favorites. So if you haven't tried those yet at Mike's Star Market, go ahead. Go to Mike's Star Market, west side of Eau Claire, and pick yourself up a package or two of the Bloody Mary brats. Also, freeze-dried candy. They're awesome. Their Oreo ones are amazing there too. So can't go wrong with anything from Mike's Star Market. Do the grilling season right this year. Do your backyard barbecues right this year. Grab your stuff from Mike's Star Market here in Eau Claire. Hey, we're also looking for locations to stop at the Mobile Man Cave. Mobile Man Cave brought to you by our good friends Toyson Ford. Big thanks to Toyson Ford. Also, Carpet City Flooring Center, Woods and Water Realty, the Elbow Room. I think we may be making a stop here pretty soon here to the Elbow Room to do a podcast or such. So, but we're looking for some nominations, especially with our road trip series. I've got a few towns already on the docket here to do kind of our sports cities, sports villages, sports town segment. So, but if you got any nominations, let me know. All right, always open to some ideas and some locations out there. So, quick before we get to some picks and predicts. Texter, this is from Gregory. Gregory on our texting line saying, "Who do you think would be the top 5 starting pitchers for the Brewers right now? And if they were to add another starter, who's the odd man out in a typical 5-man starting rotation?" Well, I think right now the 5 would be Colin Ray, Freddie Peralta, no particular order. Colin Ray, Freddie Peralta. I would go Aaron Servasi, their new acquisition. He's a starter with that. Then I think it's Tobias and Dallas Keuchel. I think those are your 5. But if there was an odd man out, let's say they make a trade and they add somebody, to me, I'd say Dallas Keuchel should be the one that's out of the rotation. If we're doing a typical 5-man starting rotation, and say the Brewers acquired another starter, I think it should be Dallas Keuchel. I don't know if they would do that. I don't know if they would put Tobias into the bullpen at that point. But yeah, for me, I think it's Keuchel that would be the odd man out. Just my opinion. So, all right. What else do we got here? We've got couple more texts here. Tobias, no, not Tobias. We talked about that one already. A couple more. Colin Ray to me is so underappreciated by Brewers fans. I feel like we kind of forget about him and the job that he has done so far this season. You'd be right. That's from Steve there. I think you're right. I mean, 8-2. 8-2 Colin Ray so far this year, and the quality starts. He doesn't like blow anybody out of the water, but he's impressed me. I know it was about a couple months ago. Every time Colin Ray goes out there, it's like I still get nervous. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know what to expect from him. But I mean, 8-2 with a 3.34 ERA. Colin Ray has bypassed my expectations so far. I didn't know what to expect from him this year. We got to see him a little bit last year. I thought maybe he'd be like a, I don't know, 10-10, 10-11, 10-12 type of guy here. But, that start the day before the 4th of July against Colorado, went 7 innings and no earned runs. I mean, that was an awesome start from Colin Ray. The guy's pitching well, and you got to give him a ton of credit. He has taken advantage of this opportunity, and he has done really well. Really well. I mean, June, 3-0, 3.25 ERA. So, all right, let's do some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room, located right next to the Banbury Place in Eau Claire. Looking for somewhere to catch some of the games, some of the baseball games, maybe watch like the Home Run Derby next week or the All-Star game next week. Head on over to the Elbow Room, grab yourself some man cave lights and enjoy watching the games over there. No Brewers games today. They have the off day today before they welcome the Pittsburgh Pirates to AmFam Field. But we do have a few Major League Baseball games on the schedule. Let's start off with the Mets taking on Pittsburgh. Keller on the mound for Pittsburgh. I'm going to go with the Pirates today. I'm going to go with the Pirates. We've got the Cardinals taking on the Nationals. Hate to say it, but Miles is on the mound for the Cardinals, so I'm going to go with the Cardinals in today's game. No? You think it's Washington, Hudson? All right. Hudson's taking Washington. He's been more right than me today. So Cleveland at Detroit. I'm going to go Cleveland. Colorado at Cincinnati. Give me Cincinnati. The Twins at the White Sox. Give me the Twins. Texas Rangers taking on the Angels. I'll go with the Rangers. And then Atlanta at Arizona. I'll go with the Braves. Can I go with the Braves on that one? All right. I'll take that as a yes. So those are my picks and predicts, again, brought to you this morning by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. It looks like Dan Plesac's gonna win this one too in our latest matchup here as we try to figure out who's the most underrated Wisconsin sports athlete of all time. So the Brewers and the Packers region only have one more matchup to be decided. If Plesac moves on, which right now it looks like he's going to, if Plesac moves on, he's going to face Ben Sheets in the second round. The only one that we have yet to decide in the first round is going to be Gorman Thomas versus Yo-Yo, Giovanni Gallardo. And then in the Packers region, the only one left is Al Harris taking on William Henderson. So we're almost done with that. We've got a couple left in the Bucks and Open region and the Badger region. We should be able to finish up the first round by tomorrow. And then we can get into the second round and get some interesting matchups coming up here. Like the Brewers one, you got Jeff Cirillo taking on Corey Hart. BJ Surhoff will take on the winner between Gorman Thomas and Giovanni Gallardo. That should still be a good one. Jim Gantner's taking on Lyle Overbay. Ben Sheets, Dan Plesac. Chuck Cecil's taking on Paul Kaufman. Mon Green's going to be taking on Nick Collins. Tremont Williams will take on the winner between Al Harris and William Henderson. Then Lynn Dickey's taking on Tim Harris. So that's just your Brewers and Packers region. Now we're going to get to, I think, some close voting over there. No question. We'll continue our Packers. Speaking of the Packers, we'll continue our training camp storylines tomorrow. The first two storylines. So I've got, with training camp kicking off 2 weeks from today, that's 14 days. I've got 14 storylines that I'm following heading into training camp. We covered two of them today. And in no particular order, I didn't rank them or anything like that. But the two that we covered today, Eric Stokes and Christian Watson, the hamstring, have they finally turned the corner? All the talk's great. Sounds good. But let's see it now. Let's see it on the field. Yes, we've had some OTAs and minicamp practices and such, but let's see it now in training camp. Let's get a glimpse. Have they finally turned that corner? Because I think for this team to be a championship caliber team, guys like Christian Watson, Eric Stokes have to be big parts of that. They have to be big-time contributors to that. The other one, storyline, I went with a Matt LaFleur / offense. A lot of hype surrounding this offense. A lot of talk surrounding this offense. High expectations. I think if I'm Matt LaFleur, I'm excited because I got a lot of different options. I can create some unique things within my offense, not to get too crazy and overthink it or anything like that, but you've got a lot of good options, whether it's Jacobs, the tight ends and the receivers. But, like, how's it all going to work now? We're not going to see the open playbook in training camp and in these preseason games. But, certain stuff like, okay, what is a role for A.J. Dillon? Are we going to see him as a fullback, H-back type of role this year? What are some of the personnel groupings? What are some of the things that we may get a glimpse of with this offense that has super high expectations? What's going to be kind of that glimpse that we get in training camp here? That's going to be a story leading up to it and throughout training camp, in my opinion. So we got 12 more to go. We'll hit up some more starting tomorrow. So also coming up tomorrow, it is a Grind My Gears Tuesday. So think about it for a little bit. What's grinding your gears? You can let us know tomorrow by hitting us up with a text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. All right, so you got a little time to think about it. We'll get to that tomorrow. Also, we'll preview this Brewers game with the Pirates. 3 games at AmFam Field. Then you got 3 more against Washington. Then it's the All-Star break next week. Kind of one of the most quiet times in the entire sports calendar. That All-Star break week in the middle of July. July is one of the, and for a lot of you, we did this poll before, the worst sports month of the calendar year. And this might be the worst sports week of the calendar year next week when there's no games besides an All-Star break and such. So, but we'll preview that game coming up tomorrow as well. We'll catch up on some Badger stuff with RJ Cardinal. Also, Eau Claire Express. I believe we're actually talking with manager Dale Varsho tomorrow. So, but the Express have the off day today. Second half of the season underway. They're 2-1 right now. But the off day for the Express after picking up a victory yesterday. They will be taking on the Rochester Honkers in a 2-game series that begins at Carson Park starting tomorrow. They've actually got quite a few games this week at Carson Park. Got the doubleheader on Thursday over there too. So if you got nothing going on during the day on Thursday or such, maybe do a little extended lunch break and head on over to Carson Park for a little day game action over there. So, but we'll catch up on all things Eau Claire Express up tomorrow, just past 8:00. And I know I mentioned a little bit earlier, but you had the Chippewa River Baseball League All-Star game that also was underway yesterday, and the South All-Stars defeated the North All-Stars 2-0. All right. Big thanks to everybody who participated, sent some texts, some tweets, commented on the video stream, and all that good stuff. And thanks to Hutsy for correcting me on a couple of names there, too. Dude called me out on it. At least he pays attention. So, all right. Have a good rest of your Monday. DP and the Danettes, they're up next. Let's do this again tomorrow, all right? Tomorrow morning, just past 6 a.m. Talk to you then.